Erica back on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel, and today we're going to be playing with the Meraki Artisan Flora dies, the rose version. So I have here my gorgeous colored cardstock swatch. This is all Concord and 9th cardstock, so including the newest colors. So I am going to be using those for today's florals. So I've actually already picked out some colors, so I'm going to be using the brand new wild berry. We're also going to be using the gorgeous dragon fruit. There's going to be a little bit of sweet pea. And here I was like, oh, is this definitely one? Yes, it's definitely sweet pea. And then we're going to be using a little bit of carnation. And I did realize, first I thought, okay, so we're definitely going to be using these 4 colors. But when you look at the back of the packaging here, when I first looked at it, I thought it was going to be just 4 colors. I don't know how I kind of got to that conclusion, but when I counted, it was actually 5. So we are going to bring in a little bit of a much lighter pink, and I mean there are some options here. You can either, you know, go for like a briar rose or a ballet slipper, or maybe even like a little bit of pink lemonade. I mean, it depends on what colors you actually want to use, but I did decide to use the ballet slipper in the end. So we have our 5 colors of the pinks, and then I will be picking out some greens later on, but I'm not gonna kind of skip over that. Now, when I first started this die cutting, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna try to be a little bit like cardstock smart. So originally I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just cut out 1 of each piece, so that, because I have a habit of going crazy and just cutting out so many. So on the inside, when you take the packaging out, it actually gives you like a guide of how to put this together as well. And here I was like, okay, so I need to try to kind of cut this out, but then I was like, oh, idea. Okay, so I'm going to make myself a little template. Yes. So I'm going to take a sheet of just white cardstock. A sheet is a panel. It's just a bit of cardstock. So I'm going to run this through the die cutting machine. So these pieces, I was going to say I probably won't use them, but I probably will at some point. However, the idea here is to use these pieces to cut out the size of the cardstock that I need, so that I don't waste a load of extra cardstock, because waste is bad, right? Okay, nobody wants waste. So I decided to kind of do this like little puzzling thing, and it did take a little bit longer, but I do feel like it paid off, considering that there was so much less waste, and I didn't end up with a million pieces of every single like color as well. So if you want to make loads and loads of flowers, then, you know, by all means, just you go crazy. You do you, boo. That's what we always say in the craft room. You do you. This whole thing is supposed to be fun and, you know, feed our creativity. It's not supposed to be like policed in any way. But keeping waste down, I think we can all agree, is a very, very good idea. So this I found actually worked really well for me. So I've managed to get all of the pieces cut out with minimal waste of colored cardstock, which I was very pleased about. So I didn't actually do this with the smaller pieces and with the leaves, because I felt like I could kind of, you know, guesstimate a little bit of how much I was needing for this. But I wanted to, again, use the same colors as the big rose, but I wanted them to be really dark, because like usually buds and things, you know, they tend to be a little bit darker until they actually bloom. So I thought, you know, we're going to go dark, and this wild berry, oh, goodness me, let me tell you, this color has instantly gone to like my top favorite spot of all of the colored cardstocks from Concord and 9th. And considering they have 48 colors, that's quite the feat. So here was another thing that I realized as well that worked out really well for me, is that I kind of swapped my plates around. So in order to really see like how my cardstock has gone onto the die cuts, instead of putting the cardstock down first and then hoping that I'm getting the die cut on top in the right spot, I have flipped them so that they're facing upwards. So my flat plate goes first, and then the die cut facing upwards, and then you put the cardstock over the piece where you actually want to cut, and then you put your, what would normally be your bottom piece, as the sandwich holder together, I guess. And sorry about my dog barking there. Sometimes that can't be helped. Now, with the puzzling together, this honestly could not be easier. There is like a little mark on some of the bigger pieces here, so you will actually know exactly where they're gonna go. And also the guide, look, it makes it so easy to see what you're doing and where things are gonna go. So this is super, super helpful. Make sure you actually take the whole packaging out of the plastic wrap and open it up and look at it, because yeah, sometimes these like layering dies can be a little bit tricky and you're like, oh, where exactly is this supposed to go? But inside of this packaging, I know I keep saying packaging a lot, but inside of this leaflet, there is very, very good details. And then, I mean, you can see here, step 2, so easy. And you can see it coming together and, you know, where all the pieces are going to go. And it's, yeah, this is definitely one of the easier layering dies that I have played with. So thank you for that. Very good. I do like a good detailed instruction booklet, because like I said, it can be very, very easy to get confused and like wonder where are things going to go, etc. And that is it. I mean, it just, yeah, looks so pretty. It's so like 3D-esque. And then we're going to move on to our little buds here. Now with the buds, they, again, like the bigger pieces have like that little mark. So all you got to do is line that up and then you're good to go. You just a little bit of liquid glue. Always use liquid glue, by the way. Don't use any of this like super sticky stuff that, you know, you have no chance of moving once it's stuck. Liquid glue for the win. But do be a little bit sparse. You don't want to go crazy because it does kind of, you know, too much of it, and with the layering as well, you know, the paper might warp a little bit. You don't want to do that. So here we're just gonna finish off these pieces, and I did end up actually having a couple of colors for like the final piece of that bigger bud, and I think the choice of going with the darker color was probably the best one, because it gives it a really good 3D look, I think, anyway. Now this little one, it's a bit tricky, not gonna lie, because that final piece it's very, very tiny. But again, it just looks so real. It's so like, yeah, I'm a big fan. Must admit. And greenery is basically what kind of makes everything really come together and make it look alive. So I've done quite a lot of greenery, because I do tend to go a bit crazy with the foliage. Like, I was a florist and when I used to work outside of the home, and I always liked a lot of like greenery in my bouquets to make them kind of, you know, just fill them out and make them more, yeah, just more. So that has carried on into my card making as well. So now we have our flower, we have our leaves, and look at that, how pretty is that? Oh, so good. And we have our little buds, and we're going to let them dry a little bit, and then we're going to put everything aside. And we're going to make a background. And it's not going to be a super complicated background, because this flower is going to be the star of the show. So we're going to do a simple, super simple splattering of some green watercolor on some watercolor cardstock. So a word to the wise, you can be smart and don't do what Eric is doing on screen right now. You can put your cardstock in a splatter box so it doesn't go everywhere. I mean, I did have somewhat of the sense of covering up my actual flowers, and the rest of my cardstock with a towel, but a splatter box would have been the way to go. Now I did dry this with the my heat tool, just to make sure that it was really, really dry, so I didn't get any smudges. And then it was time to put this together. Now I know I have a lot of foliage here, but as I said, I really do feel like it kind of like brings everything to life, and it's fun puzzling things together as well. So this is probably one of like the key stages. Like, don't rush this. I mean, I know this kind of looked very fast, and for some reason it really did come together super easy today. So I'm going to use a little bit of press and seal here to just pick this up so that everything stays exactly where I want it to go, and we're gonna just press and seal it in. Yes, I see where there I got the name there. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add quite a lot of liquid glue on the back here, on all of the pieces that we can actually see. And then you will probably need to add a little bit more on the front. It if you use as much foliage as I do. But we're going to turn this whole thing over, we're going to press down, and then we're going to peel and reveal. And here, you do need to be a little bit careful because obviously some of these pieces are quite delicate. But yeah, I mean, it's such a great hack using press and seal on your card, in your card making even. Now, this rose needed a little bit more liquid glue behind it just to make sure that it stayed flat. So don't be kind of worried to pick it up and add in a little bit of more adhesive if you need to. Now, I will put a misty on top of this just to make sure that it dries flat. And then while that's drying, we are going to use the new Meraki Moments Hay Paradise to cut out the hay. So this set comes with 3 different pieces. You have a big shadow piece, and then you have a smaller shadow piece, and then you have one that cuts out just the letters themselves. And we are only going to use that piece today because we don't want to cover up our flower too much. So I was contemplating using the dramatic dragonfly, or dragon fruit, color again. But I decided to go for carnation, which I only used a little bit on the rose itself to kind of, keep things cohesive, but at the same time, just kind of bring in a little bit more of that color because it's a beautiful pink. And it's going to bring in a little bit of extra of that pinkness. Now, we're not going to just have this say, hey, we're going to get a sentiment out of the Good Vibes sentiment stamp set. So we're going to make this say, hey, you're amazing. And, this is going to be sent to somebody who might need like a little bit of a reminder that they are amazing. Like, hey, you're amazing. Remember that. And if you needed to hear that, that's for you today. So we are going to stamp this up very simply, just on white cardstock and with some black ink. Then we're going to trim this down. But you will notice that instead of putting this in the middle, I'm actually going to stamp it off to the side. So it's going to kind of go right under the hay. And then that's going to go straight across the whole kind of card base. So I'm using a little bit of Gina K amalgam ink. And I probably did not say that right. But I'm a foreigner. I have a language barrier. So, we're gonna go with it. But it's her black ink, Gina K's black ink. Then with a trimmer, we're gonna just trim this down as like skinny as we can without chopping any of the sentiment off. And then we are going to, we're gonna use the press and seal trick again. But what we're gonna do here is first we're going to place everything onto the card. So we're gonna use our grid mat to kind of make sure everything is straight or straight-ish anyway, as straight as possible. And we're gonna put everything sort of as close to where the final spot is going to be. And then we're going to take our press and seal yet again. We're going to pick up those loose pieces here. And then we're going to do another little trick to make sure the things are still straightish. So you can see that the E is like a little bit off. So we're going to line up the sentiment strip with a straight line on our grid mat. And then we're going to use those grids to make sure that things are actually straight. So you can, the good thing with the press and seal is that it's see-through. So you can actually see like where everything is. Then we're going to add a little bit of liquid glue. We're going to zoom out again. We're going to pop this onto our card base like so. Press down a little bit. And then once we have removed this, just make sure that everything is super straight. And this is the key with, liquid glue. Now it's time for bling-a-ling. I have been very sparse with my bling-a-ling recently, and I feel the need. We're gonna bling it up. So those gorgeous ones that you just saw, they are the magical iris gems, and these are the limited edition Aurora dewdrops. Unfortunately, these are all sold out, so they are no longer available, but some of you guys might actually have these in your stash. So I, decided I'm actually gonna go for the Aurora dewdrops. If you don't have those, the magical iris are a brilliant backup option because they are stunning. They go with everything. So we are going to put just a few. If you know me, hi, I'm Erica. I am addicted to bling. I am the president of your local bling-a-ling addiction chapter. We talk about how much we love bling and we are never going to stop adding it onto cards. So hi, welcome. I am going to add more than I thought I was going to add, which is saying something for me. But I I was on a roll and I could not stop adding them. It just, you know, it's like the final little touch, really, it is. And I'm adding these with the brilliant Meraki Bling Buddy. So it's super easy to just pick them up, pop down a little bit of glue and just pop them back down into place, and, you know, easy peasy, breezy, the card is done. And yes, you might not want to go for as much bling as I do, but, you know, I'm here for it if you do. But that is it from me for today. I really hope you have enjoyed this card making session and this card, and that you've been inspired. Don't forget to check out the rest of the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel, subscribe, and hit that thumbs up button. Bye for now!